I recently received an email from Mike Cohn, and everybody knows I love when I get these emails from Mike. And he's talking about stories, and it's one of his favorite topics. But in this one, he asked, does every user story need to be small? He starts out, small user stories are essential to success with Agile. When it's time to bring stories into an iteration, I always want them to be small. But larger stories have their place as well, especially for something you're not going to work on imminently. So let's pause there for a second. I 100% agree. In fact, when I do coaching, one of my recommendations is to try to make everything either a small or extra small t-shirt size. What this does is it allows it to be more easily consumable, and it's a lot less likely that you're going to carry work over from one sprint to another, which seems to be a big issue lately. A lot of the organizations who I've gone on and coached have been carrying work over and splitting things out. And it's not always a negative reflection on a team's capability or ability to get things done, but it's more of a reflection of poor planning and poor forecasting. And I want the teams to become good at forecasting. So one of the things that I always remind them is the smaller you can make the stories, the better off you're going to be. Now, does that mean every story is going to be able to be extra small? Absolutely not. Especially like Mike mentioned, if you're planning things out for N+2, a lot of times there's things that are further out on the horizon either we may not have taken the time to gather information on, or maybe we just don't know everything yet. And it's okay, right? We need to put those things in a backlog so we don't lose presence, but we also need to make sure that we're mindful that things could change. All right, so let's continue. Suppose you've just begun work on a new product that will include a set of reports. Because it's a brand new product, there's nothing to be gained by writing a bunch of small user stories around each one of those reports at this point, especially since you don't yet know all the reports that'll be needed. At this stage of the project, having one big reporting story rather than a bunch of little ones keeps the size of the backlog more manageable. You'll have one entry in your tool instead of 15 or 20, and it's much easier to manage. Further, if you do write all the small stories, one per report, it gives the impression that you thought about everything. Early in a project, that's probably not true. New reports will be identified, and some that are asked for initially may not even be necessary. This is exactly what I was explaining to you. You want to make sure that if you're doing backlog refinement and you're writing new stories, that you're taking the time to identify which things are going to be in your N+2. Now, you heard me say that twice now. That means now +2 sprints, or now +2 releases, or now +2. So anytime I say N+2, I believe that that's the level of planning that we should have some level of detail. So if you're, for example, if you're in sprint planning or you're trying to plan, let's go all the way down to sprint planning. So if you're in sprint planning and you're signing up for stories, you should make sure that you know the current story you're working on and that you have at least 2 more planned that you could grab off of the backlog next if you complete the one that you just started. If you are in release planning, you want to make sure that you're planning for now plus the next 2 months or the next 2 quarters. And that's more roadmap. But if you're planning at release level, you want to make sure you at least have now plus the next 2 sprints really refined, right? And I guess that's more backlog refinement. So backlog refinement, you want to make sure that you have N+2. Everything is N+2. Release planning is now +2. And if you do this, even roadmap planning is this quarter +2. So it allows you to see everything that's in your current state, as well as more detail about what's coming up in the next 2 states. Now, what's interesting is, obviously, if you have a roadmap and you're doing now +2 quarters, if you go into that quarter, you might be doing now +2 sprints. So what I'm saying is you're still going to have work that's not refined, that's further out. I hope that makes sense. And I think that this is the trap that Mike's about to talk about. He says, don't fall into a trap of thinking that every story needs to be small from the beginning. They don't. Instead, plan for stories to shrink in size and grow in detail as they move closer to being brought into a sprint. That's the N+2 method I was talking about. For most teams, this will happen during a product backlog refinement meeting. Go figure, 1 or 2 sprints before the iteration we're planning, they'll be considered. It is so fun for me to read these emails, and before I even read what Mike said, I already know that we're going to be on the same page. It's pretty incredible. Letting timing dictate story size will help you succeed with user stories in your Agile implementation. I 100% agree. I think that we do need to learn how to break down stories better. We need to learn how to do better refinement. But I think too many organizations focus on how we're going to split the stories that we've mistakenly sized instead of how do we size better. And those are two different exercises. So, what I encourage you to do at this point is find ways to engage with the team to help them understand size and scope of what they're about to estimate and allow them the ability to have comfort around, okay, I know what this is. I know how I'm going to do it. Let's roll. And I think that if you do that, you're going to find that you're going to have much greater success with things that you're trying to do with regard to your agile implementation. It's not all rocket science. Many times it's just about organizing to work better. And I feel like here's the best piece of advice I can give regarding this. If you can allow your product owner to really focus 100% of their attention on creation and refinement of backlog items, as opposed to doing a whole bunch of other busy work or worrying about the teams and those types of things, let the Scrum Master govern the teams. Let the teams operate in an autonomous way. And if you do the separation of quote unquote church and state, and you allow people to work on the things that they're supposed to be specialists in, and give the product owner a supporting cast. Everyone always fights me on this. The product owner is amazing, probably one of the most difficult jobs that you can do in the Agile work set. But if the product owner is trying to do everything alone, if they're trying to be the subject matter expert, if they're trying to be the business analyst who knows everything about what's going on with the customer, if they try to be the functional analyst who understands strategic thinking and the direction we're trying to go, if they're trying to be the technical analyst and understand everything regarding technology about the product that we're trying to build, the product owner will quickly become overwhelmed and you're not going to get good quality. You're not going to get what you're looking for. So my best advice that I could possibly give you is to make sure that the product owner has a supporting cast. If the product owner has a supporting cast to help them with important decision making, critical decision making, it'll be easier for them to break things down into these smaller pieces, which will make it easier for the team to consume, which will make it easier for everyone on the Agile project. Well, I hope that helped. That's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, learn more at agiledad.com. We would love to hear from you. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.